So before I begin talking, I would like to start or to hear from you with one question. In your own words, whatever comes to your mind, can you write where are you in your career path right now, as of today? Just share a couple sentences in chat, because I would love to see how you all feel, where you are, at least your perspective on things before we begin talking about these things. So just take a couple minutes. Whatever you feel is the right wording. You know, there's no right or wrong. Wherever you are, where are you in your career path? How would you describe it right now? I just finished undergrad and I'm confused. I really understand. And that's something we're going to talk about. I'm currently in the discovery stage of my career. I'm now becoming certain of which path to follow. Very good. Mid-level, looking to take up more responsibility in my profession. Yes, I'm going to wait just a little bit more to see if anybody has more responses to share, and then we will begin. And of course, this is just, you know, as I said, no right or wrong. It's just how you describe yourself at this point. I'm currently doing my undergraduate and I don't know where exactly I'm going. I just completed College of Education and I'm also learning of data science and analytics. Very good. Specifics. Feel free to keep writing. We will begin with the next slide because, you know, I think it's all connected and I love hearing your voices. I'm so glad you're sharing this. So as I said, one of the nice ways they describe the career trajectory is that there is no, you know, there's the beginning, a middle, and end. They don't have always happen in the same order. They could change at any time. So you could be mid-career, you could be even midlife after many years of doing something, and you decide to change and do something else with your life, and that makes you beginning something else. So I encourage you not to be thinking as if this is some chronology, beginning, middle, and end. And same thing with academic and education and learning, with the concept of lifelong learning, and that we continue to learn, we continue to do new things, right? And so, and the things we learn could lead us to a totally different kind of learning or different field or different industry, right? So I would like for us as a start to break the myth of things have just a beginning, middle, end in that order. Always be ready for change and be ready to accept that sometimes you have to begin something else at any given point of life. In fact, even something I appreciate in creative writing, there is one of the rules they use when you write a story or a poem or you know, a short story or a novel. They say this beautiful line: everything has a beginning and a middle and an end, but not always in that order. Some stories begin from the end, and some stories, some very beautiful stories, the story begins on the very last page because it opens the door for you to start discovering and thinking about it. So what are, regardless of where you are and how you feel, and by the way, I also saw some of the comments saying, I'm not sure, I'm still, you know, confused, and I'm rewording, not reading the comments right now, but that is very normal. And it's very, it's not like your problem always that you're confused or you're not sure yet. I mean, it's not like you have a fault in here. The world is changing all the time. We've been through very difficult times in this world, especially with COVID. Things have been turned upside down. And even before COVID, the job markets have always been very fluctuating and changing, full of uncertainty. And that's too much to always, you know, think about. So it's not easy for people to know exactly, you know, where they're going, but we will talk about how to make this process easier and smoother and more meaningful for you. Because at the end of the day, whatever you do, you have to feel fulfilled as a person. And I think unfulfillment is one of the biggest problems we have in this world. It's because we don't think carefully and we don't connect who we are with what we want to do. So without further, you know, elaboration, what are 5 key things that you must think about very carefully as you begin thinking about your career and education? Let's begin with the first one and the next slide. Polish your resume or your CV. And I think some of you, when you hear this, you'll feel, oh, I've heard this all the time. You know, it's kind of, you know, I'm tired of hearing this CV, resume, right? Some of you will say, I don't have enough to even have on my CV, right? So how can I even show that I am, I barely have some experience. So wherever you are, whatever you're feeling, it's important to be very creative about what you can turn from a living experience, whether through education, even service in your community, in your worship space, whether church or mosque or anywhere, any kind of service, any kind of talent you've used to help others, it could be on your CV. So we have to be very creative to find and to identify what is worthy of putting on your CV. So sometimes when you think you really don't have enough, you might not, you might have more than you think. So so think carefully about what exactly you can put there. And those of you who already have the experience that is there, make sure to always update your CV and to always tailor it and customize it so that if you apply to different kind of jobs, you have different versions of your CV that are attractive and make you stand out. The real thing you should always aim at, not to fit in. Not this company like this kind of people, let me fit in. Let me do whatever makes me fit in. Fitting in is not the goal. Standing out, looking very different but exceptional is the most important goal you should work on. And honestly, I think standing out is something important, not only in CV and professional life, even in social life, even in relationships. When you stand out, then you're not like everyone else, like everything else. But that means you have to be authentic and show the best that you have to give. So update your CV, resume. By the way, the difference between CV and resume is not that much, but sometimes we say CV for longer CVs. If, for example, for academic purposes, if you're a professor, assistant professor, or you researcher, you tend to have a CV much longer. But generally, a resume is a shorter version. It should not exceed 2 pages. You should try your best to make it as short as possible. And if you have a lot of experience, you can always put the last 10 years or the most relevant experience. And that's something really important as a tip to remember, because you say, oh, I have too much. How can I fit it in 2 pages? Or some of you will say, I don't have much. How can I make 2 pages? And I'll say more about that. If you have too much, put the last 10 years or the most relevant. If you have too little, consider a lot of your talents, from language to community services to things you've done on campus or things you've done in helping in any capacity other people. They could all translate into CV under activities. If you volunteer. And by the way, I've always had personally, to share with you something important. I've always had a long CV with a lot of work, but I still volunteered. When I got my PhD and before getting my ASU job, I really wanted to teach English for people who come to the US and want to learn it to work for practical purposes. So I volunteered in a writing center for months. And even after I got my job with ASU, I continued to volunteer and teach a class twice a week because it was meaningful to me to serve the community, to serve people that I know where they're coming from, because I came to the US from Iraq. I've seen a lot of difficulties. I've been through war. I know how it feels to be in a totally new place and not having sometimes the tools or the guidance. So I wanted to be there for the kind of people that I was once, because other people were there for me. And I say this to show you that volunteering is really important. It adds value to you. It can give you skills. It can be something that is significant when you add it to your CV. And remember, employers see volunteering, especially if it's meaningful and relevant, exactly as they would see a work experience. So that's something also to be said. So these are ways for those of you who say, oh, how can I get more? How can I build my CV more? Tailor your CV for every position. This is extremely important. Some people make one copy of CV and cover letter and send it to everybody. Some people, and this is, I can't believe people still do this, but I will say it very openly and honestly. Some people still say just dear sir, ma'am, and then the same cover letter and send it to everybody. Customizing, personalizing is extremely important. It shows that you've taken time to look at the company or the place and the hiring manager, the people that you'll be working with, and then you customized it. But also, it shows that you are not, people know it. Whether HR or a hiring manager, they will know when they see a CV and a cover letter whether they're customized, somebody took the time to think about the position, the company, the values, how they fit with the mission of the company or the place, versus somebody who wrote something generic and sent it to everybody. They will know that. So I'm telling you that it's important to do that. And thank you, some of you, for sharing this tip, that there is mycareerwheel.com, an app which will help you customize your CV. That's very good. So make sure to do that. It's really important. And it takes a little bit of time, but it pays off big time, right? Okay. Seek advice. Do not be shy. And don't think that nobody will understand you or will understand you are. Think in your head, or make a list of people you believe in. You love their professionalism. You love their career path. You love their academic achievements. Think about such people and make a list, whether short or long. Say, I would love to remember to reach out to these people, you know. So seek advice. You know, teachers, professors are good to seek advice, but they don't always know everything about careers, right? Let's be honest, you know. Even, you know, when I was doing my PhD, my professors knew a lot about academic jobs, but they didn't know as much about jobs outside of academia. So I had to seek advice and support from other people. So having a diverse network in your life, if you have them already, continue to stay, you know, to be connected to them and ask them for support and advice. Ask them to look at your CV, your cover letter if they have time. Give people a lot of time to help you. Don't do it like the night of the deadline. So seeking advice is critical. Having mentors, like Baobab, for example, they have a mentorship program. A mentor can really guide you. But it's also important to know how to ask people for help, how much burden to give them. Try to do as much work as possible so that they give you their expertise in a way that you make them feel you're respecting their time. I've been in situations where people sent me something, they almost want me to do the whole thing for them. In fact, the other day, somebody was almost telling me, can you write me a paper in English? And of course, I said, no, you have to write it. And I'm happy to either edit it, look at it, and give you resources, or give you any kind of feedback on the paper itself. That's my capacity. And so we need to be very thoughtful, but we do need to seek advice in different ways, whether professors, teachers, trusted friends. And there's something really important. It's called, I'm sure many of you know about it, if not all of you. It's called information interview. Somebody you like, you trust, you can ask them, can I please sit with you, have a cup of coffee or have a phone call? I want to learn more about how did you do this? How did you get this job? How is this job? Do you really like it? What is difficult about it? What should I know to be prepared for it? And sometimes most people, I would say, are very honest. If you're not directly working with them, they will tell you, this is great about this job, but honestly, it's very stressful. I think this part is very hard and I have a family. I'll be honest with you. If time goes back, maybe I would have done this. People will tell you all kinds of ideas to consider. Nothing is final and set in the stone. You make your own decisions, but information interviews can give you a lot of insight into how does it feel to be in the job. Some jobs look very attractive on paper and as a job title, but they are very miserable when you go inside. Some jobs look very normal, average. You say, oh, I don't want this. But maybe when you talk to them or learn about the company, you find that they are really meaningful and enriching. Some jobs pay a lot of money, but they're extremely stressful. And some jobs pay a little less. You'll say, oh, maybe I deserve more, but you might have more fulfillment. So this is for you to decide. If you want a lot of money and you're okay with the stress, that's fine. But you learn a lot about all these dynamics and all of these sort of nuances when you start talking to people. So this is really important, seeking advice. Having mentorship, having guidance in any capacity you can get should be wonderful. Of course, people who are knowledgeable in the areas that you're seeking advice. And then make sure your CV is concise, to the point, error-free. This is really important. If you make a mistake on CV, on the first line, you have a mistake. By the way, this doesn't apply for English only, whatever language. You might be writing it in French. It doesn't matter. In Arabic, whatever. But if they see immediately mistakes or a comma that's not there or no, no consistency, they immediately think this person is not very attentive to details. So that tells them something. And being attentive to details, I can almost assure you, is important in every job. Everybody appreciates somebody who takes care of details. That's why the CV being correct, error-free, and and concise immediately gives an impression about you as a person. It's not about you're having grammar teachers looking at it. That's not the point. You're having people who want employees or colleagues or managers, whatever you're applying for, who are attentive to details. And most jobs suffer, have losses, have problems, have bad productivity when we are negligent, when we don't have attention to details. So this matters. And the last piece, factually correct. We have gazillion stories out there, many stories of people who misrepresented their experience, their education, and only a matter of time when they get discovered. It's only a matter of time. We've even had professors publish famous researches and they were lying about the research, about the data, how they collected it, and so on. And they were found later. They got some glory, temporary glory, and some temporary attention, but later the truth always comes out. There's nothing more beautiful than being exactly honest about what you have and who you are, because you don't want bad surprises. You want to go into a place where they know exactly what they're getting, but also you know what you will learn there, and they know what you can offer and what you can learn. And some people are not factually correct because they're afraid, oh, I will look bad. Oh my God, I want to pretend I know this because then they may not hire me if they know I don't know. No, it's very good. The best policy is to be straightforward and honest what you have. And don't be afraid that there are some things in the job you don't know. And that's why people do factually incorrect things, include them in their CV, because getting any job is a two-way street. It's not only you giving them something, and that's why you have to look wonderful and perfect. If you are perfect for a job, do not apply to it. If you're perfect for a job, you don't need it. You need a job where you can learn something new, something that will be added to your cup. Now, so every job, you should give something really meaningful to that job, and it should give you back. It should teach you something, whether a skill, a project, a task, managing people, whatever the situation is. Research, a new research project, you really want to learn about it. So having the tools is one thing and having the experience is another. Do not mix them up, and do not pretend you have them both and you're perfect. You enter somewhere, an ideal job is a job that you give and it gives you back. And that's why factually correct is extremely important. So this is the first tip. It's key. And if you have questions, I know I can take forever because it's a big topic, but moving to the next thing, if you have questions, keep writing them in chat. If you have reflections, I love hearing from you. So I'm always, I'm looking at the chat always, and so is my colleague Tiffany. Now, hearing from you again, your friend wants to share your LinkedIn profile to recommend you for a job at his or her company. So here is the question for you. Is your LinkedIn profile ready for a potential employer to review? So here, I would like for you a yes, no answer. We're going to launch a poll and I'll be seeing your answers. Is your LinkedIn at this moment ready for a potential employer? If your friend says, hey, give me, Aminata, Abdul Bari, give me quickly your LinkedIn profile. Is it ready? So let's see. I'm pleased already seeing a good number of you have it ready. That's really good. I'll give it a few more seconds for you to answer the poll. Is your LinkedIn profile ready? And of course, there's no right or wrong. We're just trying to test ourselves here to see where we are. All of this webinar is designed for us to brainstorm and test where we are and learn from each other. And by the way, I learn a lot from people in webinars. Like you teach me a lot about the way you answer questions, the way you give insights. So thank you for participating. I see that most of you are basically ready. 3 people said no, which is fine, of course. And this is what I mean. In the previous slide, we talked already about how important it is to not get too comfortable and say, oh, my CV, I don't need it now. I'm still working the job. I'll go another 6 months. Things change fast. And also, your memory doesn't always serve you well. Sometimes you do some little things that are really good for a CV, and time goes on and you forget about them. Even when you go to renew your CV or update it, you will forget that you've done this and that was really important. You might remember another job or another sort of promotion, but you might forget some details that are really crucial. Finished a little course here, you forgot about it. You need to keep updating your CV. And of course, LinkedIn could act as a CV in a way, because it's a website where you go and connect professionally. So you see the results. I'm sharing them with you, everybody. Are you able to see them? 8 said yes and 3 said no. That's totally fine, of course. So yeah, LinkedIn, you have to make sure your profile is ready. And LinkedIn is a great way. You think of LinkedIn in multiple ways, by the way. LinkedIn is not just one thing. It is equivalent to having a polished, really good CV that many people could see, not only your connections, but connections of your connections who decide to, to connect with you or to look at it and so on. So you have to have it the best way and the best presentation possible to reflect you very well, right? We're not only talking about being attractive in a sort of a phony, fake way. We're talking about representing you very well and very accurately, as I said previously about the CV. But LinkedIn, further than that, it's about networking, which is really important. The more it represents you well, the more it is likely to be noticed by the right people who should notice you, right? Now, if I write all kinds of incorrect things about myself in LinkedIn, I might be noticed by the wrong people and end up being connected, not for the kind of job that I'm fit for. So the more you represent yourself well and have it polished, the more you're likely to network with the right people, right people to find you, to discover you and connect with you. So this is really critical. And I think all of us know the difficulty of networking. We hear it all the time. Everybody is telling you how important it is to network, but you say, how? What is the best way? And there is no one way for networking, by the way. I'm talking about this point because it's a little like, not to digress too much, but there are many ways to networking. And some studies show that a lot of jobs and very effective networking, situations happened when you connected with people in person also. People at your previous job, your current job, somewhere you volunteered. When people see you, they see the whole thing, right? But LinkedIn is also a place where a lot of networking can happen, and people, the more you represent yourself well and authentically, the more likely you are going to create strong networks. And don't be shy to connect with people. And when you do connect with people on LinkedIn, always make sure to send a quick message telling them who you are and what attracted you about their profile and why are you wanting to connect with them. I think it's a common courtesy. And quite honestly, even on Facebook, for example, I'm giving you this as an example. I see people sending me message requests because they read my work. I write and people read my work from all over the world, but they don't tell me anything who they are, and it will be an empty profile, looking shady almost, looking like they might be hacking my profile. And I think it's nice to write a short note and tell the person, hi, I'm Louis. I found your LinkedIn profile and I really like that you do this and this and this. It's important for me because, very short, just telling people why are you interested and who you are and why you want to connect. It makes people feel safe and appreciated and encourage them to also look back at you and see your profile. So this is a courtesy that I strongly encourage all of us to do because it can pay off. It can go a long way. So next slide. Speaking of that, create and update your LinkedIn profile. I kind of spoke about the slide already, so which is okay. It saves you more time and headache, I guess. But audit your online presence is important, not only on LinkedIn, but in general. And by audit, I'm very careful using that word. I never want anybody to think they should be scared and censor themselves. People should be free and they should be themselves and they should be comfortable sharing things in different social media. But here's a very simple rule. I follow this rule, by the way. Anything that I publish online on my Facebook or anywhere is something that I'm ready for the whole world to see. It wouldn't, even if I have a poem that is, let's say I write a poem that's a bit controversial. Some people will hate it that I'm saying this in the poem. That's it. I published my poem. I'm ready for the whole world to see it. That's it. This is what I want it to be seen. So the point I'm making is whenever you put anything online, LinkedIn or elsewhere, just wonder if an employer or if somebody I respect, if a professional sees it, will I be okay with that? If your answer is yes, then that's it. This is your value. This is your mission. This is you as a person. And anybody should take you for the whole person that you are. You are a whole person, but make sure that you are represented well, because that matters. And you know, I think this is very self-explanatory, and I hope if it's not, you can ask questions or share comments and experience if you have on this area. The second thing, create LinkedIn profile, obviously, if you haven't, and update it if you do have. Same thing as we talked about the CV, so I'm not going to repeat more, but this is really important. It could get you noticed. And I already mentioned how important it is for building connections and networking. So moving to the next point, and share ideas and questions in the meantime. If you feel something you would want to hear more about, we will have question and answer time. The third important tip for building this, identify the required and desired. There are two different things, required and desired skills for your career. So you say, I'm interested in this career path. Let's say I want to work in a hospital administration. Example, just giving you one example. What is hospital administration? What kind of a high-level administrator in hospital needs to have? What kind of degrees? What kind of skills? Obviously, you don't have to be a doctor. You don't even have to have a medical degree. You might need an MBA. You might need, you know, some doctors end up working in administration, and they make really good administrators because they have managing skills, but they also come from medical background. So they have the compassion. They know how it feels to be a doctor, to be a nurse. I actually worked in a hospital as a medical interpreter for 2 years. It was one of the most rewarding and beautiful experiences of my life. And my boss, who was running the entire global health department, she was a nurse practitioner. And then she moved to administration. And she was so compassionate and so professional and managed so well. And any difficult situation, she handled it with professionalism, but also with the nurse practitioner sort of experience. It's really, really meaningful. So that's the point I'm making. What are the required and desired skills for where you're heading, for what you're thinking about? And then look at them and evaluate, what do you have? What do you have is really good? What do you have that needs more polishing and work? And what do you don't have, and how to get it? This is really important to do all of this, these elements. So evaluate your existing skills. That's the first point. What do I have now? For example, I'm a very good public speaker, so I have a skill. But there's more that I could probably add. I need to know more about certain topics to be talking about, right? So maybe I want to give a talk about this topic. I'm a good public speaker, but I don't know yet enough about this topic. I need to read more and learn more. One example out of many. Evaluate your skills. Learn or develop new skills that you may need in your career. And those skills could be hard skills, obviously. I mean, if you're going to go and to become a nurse, you're going to need some specific nursing skills, right? I'm giving hospital examples suddenly. They just came to my mind, but you can apply it anywhere. You can apply it to engineering or anywhere. But also as a nurse, you're going to have to be very patient and work well with people. So this is it's called a soft skill, a transferable skill. You need to be able to deal with people because you deal with very difficult patients, with very difficult situations, right? So that's really important. So what do you have and what you need to have? Learn or develop the skills you need. And one way to know this, whatever jobs you like attract you within a career, because a career could have multiple different jobs within it, right? Look at job postings and see what are they saying randomly, even before you have to apply for jobs. Look at any job that is business analyst, for example. Look at all job openings in the area of business analyst and see what do they want, what is a required skill, and what is desired. Which ones do you have? Which ones you need to get better? Which ones you need to acquire, and how? There's always ways. There are free courses online. There are lots of videos. Sometimes you might have to get a license or certificate, which means you have to go do it, right? Sometimes you could get some funding from somewhere to do this course, and then, and then you'll get the course completed, added to your CV. It shows that you have the skill. All kinds of things to do. Chart short and long-term career goals. In the short run, I need to do this and I need to get this job to step to the next thing, but also long-term. Long-term requires you think about the whole field. And this is not easy at all, but I will say this, to make you feel better, this is not always your fault. Studies tell us that in the next, most of the jobs in the next like 10 years, we don't even know their job title. Things are changing so fast that we don't even know what other jobs are going to emerge, which means there's a lot of uncertainty, but some skills continue to be important if you have them, and like working with people, working with teams, being a good communicator. You never lose that skill. You will always need it somewhere else. So it's a transferable. So focus on what you can do and don't stress about what is out of your hand. And that's really important to building your path or career path. Check out examples of job openings. I mentioned it already, and we're going to move to the next slide. If you have questions or comments or thoughts, please share them. Here's another way for us to engage. I would love to hear your thoughts on this in chat, 1 or 2 sentences if you can. You're looking for job openings or internship. What job search engines would you use? I'm just curious because I actually don't know a lot of the job engines that some of you might use. I know some, but I would love to hear your thoughts on this one. Job board, very good, perfect. LinkedIn, Indeed, Google, remotely, very good, okay. Remotely, I guess you mean the kind of job would be remote, but I mean, you will have to look at different sites, right? Okay, very good. So that's good. You can keep writing thoughts. I've done some research on some jobs that people use, and I'm going to share them with you. And I'm sorry if they're not, the best ones or the perfect ones, but this is what I found, and I'm sharing them in chat with all of you. So if anybody's interested, you can check them out. I put them on chat again. Green boards, Google search, Twitter, LinkedIn. I'm glad LinkedIn is really important, right? And some job sites could be specific for a continent like Africa or a region or a country. Sometimes they could be more popular here than there. So that's good. Thank you all for sharing. Moving to the next. This was just a test for us to see what we look at, and keep sharing websites that you use. My colleague Tiffany is reminding us that Baobab Opportunities Board does have a lot of job openings. And I personally have heard a lot of praise of people finding really good opportunities there. So if you haven't done that, I encourage you to look at them. Next one. After the poll, the next slide. The 4th tip is look for opportunities for professional experience. I already talked about this in the sense that volunteering, community service, internships, working with your family business sometimes with your father. I mean, I've worked with my father as a plumber. My father was a plumber. And then I had a friend who was a baker. I worked in his bakery when I was in high school. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot how to deal with people, with good people, with angry people, with grateful people, and so on. So that's really nice. And anything could really help you. It could give you those skills that you could put on your CV, right? Family business, professional student organizations, if you have a campus or anywhere you're studying or plan to study, see what kind of professional organizations they have and make sure to be involved. All of these that you see on the slide can help you significantly in building up a resume and experience that you don't have yet. Next thing, I'm making this shorter because we talked about these points, but they're important. Last but not least, you'll see that we're going full circle. This takes us back to the beginning of all of this. And if we don't do this from the beginning, everything will be hard. And if we don't remember it always, including at the end of this webinar, it will be hard. And this is connect everything we said, everything you're thinking about, everything you shared with me, connect it with your personal mission statement. This is a specific thing. These are not just some fun words. Personal mission statement, and continue revising your goals accordingly, right? A personal mission statement, you sit down and write, who am I as a person? What do I want to do? what job is right for me, what skills do I like, what are my values, which employers I like, which companies I think are ethical and decent and important. They're really contributing to the society, to my country, to my people, and put all your values as a whole, in a holistic manner, as a complete thing together, and then say, where would I work? Which employer would be right for me? Which kind of job would be right for me, right? Which kind of place? Even you could say place, city. So that's why the personal mission statement is really critical. It will be like your compass to guide you, and it's never final. You continue revising your personal mission statement. Why? Because our goals change, our circumstances change. Goals never, the goal could be set, but your circumstances could change in a way that this goal is no longer important. There's a point in life you say, you know what? I'm not going to kill myself for this. I actually want to do this. This is adding more value to my life. And because life is change, as long as we're breathing, there's change. And when change stops, it means we're dead. As long as that's happening, then you will continue to revisit and revise your personal mission statements. So you need to do this at the beginning and during and always. This is really meaningful, and it can always help you feel better and feel that as a person, you have a hand in how to do things and how to decide your life. And once you you're fixated on one thing and only one thing, we lose a lot by doing that. And I recently read a really beautiful article. Let me find it, the excerpt. I'm going to read it for you. It was really beautiful about goal setting. And here, I'm going to read it for you, the excerpt. It said, goals are fixed objects that don't take into account new information that we might learn along the way. So we will keep heading toward a goal that may be no longer serving our values, that maybe is hurting us in some way that we didn't anticipate. Every goal you have needs the unless. So for example, you say, I'm going to train for a marathon, unless it turns out that makes me miserable and I really miss my family. So the unless is important in thinking about goals. And then it says, I'm going to climb the mountain unless I don't make it to the summit by 1 p.m. because you want to come back. And if you don't, you might be in danger. You might freeze to death, right? So the unless in every goal matters. And that's why we will always need so the goal is to get back down to the bottom alive. It's not only to climb the mountain, the article says at the end. So every goal needs an unless, according to this really nice and thoughtful article. And that's why we will always revise and revisit. And it's okay. Don't feel, oh, I failed. Now I can't do this goal. Or don't feel like I must do it even if I die. No, you don't have to die. If the goal doesn't work, change it, revise it. And it's really fine to do that. So here we come to a conclusion. And I'm sorry if it's a bit too late. It's we'll open it to the questions, of course. And I will be giving another webinar on December 7th. And you'll be very welcome to attend. It's called The Art of Writing. And in it, I will talk about 3 kinds of writings: creative writing, technical professional writing, and academic writing. What are they? How to master them? What are the tips to consider? And I do pretty much all of them. I write poetry and I write a lot of articles in literary articles, and I do professional. And I do also, technical writing when I do consultancy jobs and stuff. So they're all meaningful to me, but writing could pay your bills. It could really, make your life and your career flourish. And so how do we think about it? It can be difficult. It can be very frustrating, but it takes practice. So there's that. How to join the webinar? You'll be receiving emails. Tiffany, my colleague, will tell you more about the joining part. Mm-hmm. Sure. And then as I open it to questions also, before Tiffany tells us about that, sorry, we will be sending you a link also shortly about this webinar, a survey. If you kindly click on it and say and tell us how you felt and what kind of topics you like. Just fill the post survey because it helps us understand your experience in the webinar. So that will be sent shortly to you. And I give it back to my colleague Tiffany to explain to you a few other logistics. And please do ask questions because I'm looking at them now.
All right, everyone. I am going to post the application for the mentorship program. Again, this webinar series is part of the Baobab mentorship program. If you don't have a mentor, if you're not a part of this program, I strongly encourage you to consider it. We've heard so many success stories of people who have really benefited from the guidance and the advice that they've received from their mentors, both personally and professionally. So there's the link. It's free of charge. We work with an organization called Global Give Back Circle that has been in operation for probably over 20 years or longer. I don't know the date, but I know they've been around for a long time in this business, finding mentors that match with your professional pursuits. And they take a lot of time reading through your application and what you want to accomplish from the mentorship experience, and try to connect you and match you with someone who is the best fit. So there's the application. It is open to anyone under the age of, between the ages of 18 and 35. So if you have friends or colleagues who you think might benefit from this program, please feel free to share. It is open. And yes, we have the writing webinar that Lewis is providing coming up in December. We also have an event with Elizabeth McDonald, who is a career coach on Baobab. She will be delivering a webinar on top 5 skills that you need for 2023. That event will be on December 16th. And all of these event announcements and links to register will be sent out via Baobab on our newsfeed and in our newsletter. I'm not sure if you are not in the program, you will still receive the Baobab newsletter that has event announcements and links to register for the event. So I hope that's helpful. Let's see if I had any other announcements. I think that is all.
Great.
Just looking to see if we have any questions coming in.
We have 3 questions and I captured them. Great.
Good.
So let me get to your questions. As you know, with the time we have, I'll do my best. The first question is, I have an issue of narrowing it down to what I actually want to do because I feel like I will do well in any job or career. I think that's great to feel you do well, but doing well is not enough as a goal or as a mission in your life. Doing well for whom? And in what ways does it fulfill your entire world, your values, your mission in life, what you want to contribute? So I would think, but also, I mean, no matter what we say, many of us, it's very good to have many skills and many passions, but not all the skills and passions always translate into a job. Or, some of them are great as personal things. Some of them can translate into job. Some of them are very meaningful, but they may be difficult to be turned into a job and so on. So I encourage you to think about how to connect all these threads together and see what kind of things that you like and you do can make a promising job and can make a promising path. So remember, we talked in the webinar about short-term and long-term. In the short term, you might feel you could do a lot of things and you're doing well. But in the long term, you have to consider what does it mean for the long term, right? Mm-hmm. So that's something I encourage you to think about more, and that will help you narrow down a bit more. And that doesn't mean you should stop doing things that you like just because you chose path A, not B. You can continue to learn with the concept of lifelong learning. As you take path A, and then maybe one day you will need to take path B. Remember, we talked about beginning, middle, end. The order is not always in that order. Things could change. In the middle of your career, you could suddenly find yourself or make a decision that you want to, to be in the beginning again, find another path. So I hope that answers the question. The second one, can I add a training that I have started to my CV if I have not ended it yet, or I couldn't end it? If you didn't end it, depends on the reason and why. I can't say you can add it 100%. If you couldn't end it, like you didn't provide any results, I'll be honest with you, that means you really didn't, you can't say on your CV you've done this when you haven't. But if you haven't finished it yet and you will finish it, I recommend that you do that. And very often you you can say, on the CV, you can say, you put the date when you started, and then put, and then you say current. It means you're still doing it, or ongoing. So that's very acceptable and very, very normal. Yes. So I hope that answers your question, but let me know if it doesn't. And then another question is, please, I would like to know if someone applied for the first cohort but could not join, can we apply again? Because I still receive emails if I am undergoing the mentorship. I'll let my colleague Tiffany, who knows a lot more about the mentorship, to respond to that.
Thank you for that question, Olivia. Yes, I did send a direct message to you in chat, but if you originally applied, my first question would be, were you ever matched with anyone? If you were matched, did that communication get lost, or did you not remain in contact? Whatever the situation, yes, you can reapply. We'll evaluate where things are. Sometimes if it's just been a recent lapse in communication, they'll try to restore that communication with your same mentor. If that is not possible, or the mentor is no longer participating in the program because they are volunteers, we will rematch you. So yes, please feel free to submit a new application, and yeah, we'll take it from there, and I'll talk to you directly, I'm sure.
I don't know if this got answered. I lost contact with my mentor. I applied again, but I received message that I'm already a member, and I replied, but I have not heard anything, something like that.
Emmanuel, I will look at your case directly. I'll take note of your name. There were individuals who reapplied who were already in our system as have been having been matched before. So we reached out to find out what the specific situation was, if they had just lost contact with their mentor, or if they were desiring a new mentor, and for what reason. So we're looking at every case individually. And I know that the team at Global Give Back Circle is in the process not only of matching everyone who's applied for this third cohort, but also rematching those who have reapplied. So we're looking at each case individually. But I will put my email in the chat for anyone who has similar questions related to having applied already, or being in the program, or having lost contact with a mentor, reapplying, anything like that. You can send an email to me directly, or to support@baobabplatform.org. Either way.
Yes,
I will.
And the last one is about recording. As noted, you will be receiving a recording of this webinar. And it was really a pleasure for me and a treat to be with you today. Thank you so much for coming. I hope it was, useful. It added something to your life, and I hope to see you again in my future webinars, December 7th. And in the spring, there will be another series of webinars that I will be also doing. And it was a pleasure. Thank you so much. We hope to see you soon. Thank you for being with us today.